Good old Hope. Hope said first, like you were waiting for it. Like you were waiting for it. Jennifer Russell, hey, how are you? That's new. There's Mama, Anita, Rebecca, Big Creek Homestead. What's up, sir, ma'am? I don't know. Green Gables, Sheps, Sandy Moss, D. Dolphin Man. Dolphin Man. Give everybody a few minutes to get in here. How was everybody's day today so far? Big Creek Homestead is a man. All right, another man in the house. About time. Yeah, Sheps. Robin beat me the other night until I said Sheps for her. Like, I had to say it like 200 times. And every time I got it wrong, she hit me. She would flog me. So, and here we go with the internet again. Back to yellow. So, hopefully we'll be able to make it through this live stream without some stuff going down. Mr. Body Oil, how you doing, sir? See? Told you. She flogged me. So, still at work. Oh, that stinks, Patty. But hey, at least you get to listen to me while you're at work. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, so we're about 3 minutes in, and so we're just gonna talk. I'm gonna give you guys, since you guys are here on time, I'm going to give you a little bit of a Easter egg, like what they call when, like in the Star Wars movies and all the superhero movies, when they give you a little teaser about what's fixing to happen. Well, y'all really do not want to miss tomorrow's sustainable living video, and you really want to watch it all the way through. It's not a long video. I think it's like a whole whopping 6 or 7 minutes, but you really want to watch it all the way through. I think y'all will get a kick out of it. And if you guys like it, let me know in the comments, because that's something that Blaze and I will probably continue to do if you guys like it. So there it is. There's your nugget. There's your Easter egg. There's your insider trading information. Better than radio. 66 degrees on the Mason-Dixon line. So there's your news nugget. Suburban. You know, I really miss being able to twist my whiteboard. I really do. But you know what I could do? I could go like this. Let's see if she notices. Huh? Because I'm in that kind of mood today. Does she notice? Does she notice? You are the other Rebecca. The other one, Pete. So, I don't think she's noticed. I don't think she's noticed. D noticed. What's up, Porta? There we go. What's up, Lone Star? Yeah, Hope, me and you gotta talk, by the way. Me and you gotta have a chit chat. Alright, we're about 6 minutes in, so we probably got everybody that we're gonna get. So let's talk about gardening. Oh, I want to show y'all my cool shirt my son got me. It's a, see, look at that. It says, let's make a panda. A white bear and a black bear, and it says, let's make a panda, because panda. Robin, I have no idea what you're talking about, but no, I didn't see your comment. But anyway, so let's talk gardening. Okay, so last week we talked about worm composting. No, as you were. We talked about black soldier flies. The week before that, we talked about worm composting. And the week before that, I believe we talked about raised beds. That was our very first one because we had issues getting the raised bed video out because of wind and everything like that. So now let's talk, even though this topic, we're a little bit behind the power curve, depending on where you are. If Kitty's in here, Kitty, this would be a good class for Kitty. A lot of the folks up north, because let's be honest, I don't think some of y'all, your ground hasn't thawed yet. As a matter of fact, I know I was talking to Josh from Simply, what do they call themselves now? Simply 7 Living. And their ground's still frozen. Matter of fact, they're calling to get snow up there. So this topic can still kind of fit its way in there. And today we're going to talk about planting your garden. As a garden goes, this is probably, no, not probably. This is the most important topic. If you do not do this and take your time and do it correctly, you will fail. Your garden will not produce what it has the capability of producing. It will be more work than fun, and it'll be an all-out headache. So, hey, Felicia, I didn't see you slip in there. So one of the things that we need to talk about is you have to decide. Well, the first thing you have to decide is where are you going to put your garden? And what are some things to look for when, or to consider as you are? What are some things to consider when you're picking your spot for your garden? Okay? When you're planning out your garden, you have to take a lot of factors into consideration for the area that you're going to use. One, how much sunshine, how much daylight, direct sunlight is this plot going to get? If it's a vegetable garden, most 98% of your vegetables that are going to grow through the spring and summertime need, hey mama, need about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. So you're going to need that. More afternoon sun than morning sun. Okay, so that's one thing you got to take into consideration. 2, one of the second thing that you need to take into consideration is the soil. How alive is that soil? What's the pH of that soil? Is it an area that is filled with roots from trees? Is it rocky? Is it clay? Is it sandy? How much amendments will you have to add in this area? So once you got those major factors into consideration, exactly, for those of us with limited space, unfortunately have an option of where to plant, sadly. Ah, sir. But there are so many ways around limited space. And that's why you come here, because we're going to talk about that today. Because I put this class together with, you're one of the people that was in mind, Lone Star Living. That used to be another name. Then once you've got that, when you got that area picked out, then you have to decide, is that area going to be big enough for what they call traditional row gardening? Or do you have the ability to be able to do a raised bed gardening? And if you're going to do raised bed gardening, can you do square foot gardening? Are you going to take the time to incorporate companion gardening? And let me tell you right now, if you're not going to incorporate companion gardening, just go ahead and leave now. Just leave. Because if you're not going to incorporate companion gardening, you might as well not even garden anymore, because you're adding so much extra work to yourself that I don't even know how you could consider gardening fun. But we'll get into that in a minute. I'm not going to get on that soapbox right yet. Okay, so if you're somebody like Lone Star Living that has limited space, okay, that's going to determine what you plant in that garden.
Stop so you can figure out who's coming in the room.
What you're going to plant in that garden, how much you're going to plant, what your ability is to do in that area. Now, if you're somebody like us or Deep South Homestead and you got oodles of noodles, no, you got oodles of space that you can plant, then you may want to consider some type of row gardening. I really don't like row gardening that much. I'll do what they call sectional gardening, where I'll break my garden down into sections, where I'll have the tomato area here, and then I'll do little rows of the tomatoes, or and stuff like that. Now, we're gonna talk about row gardening for a little bit, but don't leave me, Lone Star, because I'm gonna get to you in a little bit. Row gardening does not have to be the traditional straight lines up and down. As a matter of fact, you would do better in a row gardening for pest control if you let your rows snake.
We have a friend that does that.
You let your rows literally snake, where they look like a snake.
Or an S-curve.
An S-curve.
Yeah. B. Apiary says, I plant all over. It drives my husband nuts.
See, if you plant a row like that, you do better with pest control than you would if you did a row straight like that. And you're probably saying, but Jason, why? How is that even possible, Big Bear? That would drive me crazy.
Hey, Mother of Many Horses.
Well, here's the thing. When you're planting in a straight line, when you've got all of your corns covered and aligned, bow, and they look like a good little platoon of corn.
Stand up at attention.
What Mr. Bug has to do is just go from boom to boom to boom to boom to boom to boom to boom straight down the row. He ain't got to go looking for it. But when you plant in this S, or you plant 3 or 4 here, and then you come all the way over here and plant 3 or 4 more, or you come even all more over here and you plant 3 or 4 more, and then you come over here and you plant 3 or 4 more, that's going to help you with pest control in the long run. Yes, you won't have the picture perfect garden from back in the 50s where everything was in its nice little row and they put DDT all over it.
So plow like a drunk farmer.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay? But you can do that. And see, one of the things that we do with our garden, if this piece of paper was my garden plot, what I'll do is I'll have one section like here, and then it'll just be all my tomatoes, but I'll do a row that looks like this, and then one that looks like this, one that looks like this, some like this, and then I do some little spots like this. Okay? I just change it up a lot. Now, everything from this line back is nothing but tomatoes, okay? But I'm not doing the neat little rows. No, I really don't think you would be able to do that, Suburban. But I'm not really talking.
What is she?
Do you really think
No, she wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
There you go. You could call it moonshine gardening.
But you can. Now, you don't necessarily have to do. This is just one way to do it, because there's sometimes I don't do it like this. I'll do straight rows, but I companion the snot out of it. Mm-hmm. This is a way that you can do it and still do your companion gardening. It's just another tool in the toolbox, so that way you don't have to reach for chemicals.
Or you can do, like, what do you think about, like, if you did this and you plant something here and something there and something here and something there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Show that. So, like, you could still do, and do companion gardening so that it still looks like a pattern. I mean, Suburban, that might help.
But this is just one of them extra tools in the toolbox that you can use to help
with
pests. Okay? Now, for folks like D or Suburban that have to have these perfectly straight rows,
uniform rows, right?
That's okay. Well, what I would do, because see, like how we like to do tomatoes, I love to put my tomatoes on cattle panels. Mm-hmm. I don't worry about cages. I can put them up, right then and there. Okay? But I might do like a row of tomatoes, a row of garlic, a row of tomatoes, a row of
herbs.
Peppermint, basil, oregano, all of those.
Can't you do peppers?
You can do peppers too, yeah. And the reason why that's called companion gardening, but we'll get back to that in a minute, okay? So that's just something to think about with the row gardening, okay? Row gardening is very simple. It's the traditional. You want to do the straight line, but now you don't want to be as traditional as much anymore. Because see, as time goes along with gardening and stuff, we have to get more creative, because here's the thing, folks. There are 36 people in this chat room right now, okay? And I can almost bet that all 36 people that are in here, you guys really don't want to use chemicals. You want to be hands off with chemicals. And that's awesome, and that's great. But there's probably 360,000 people that are out there that are like, I'll just put some 7 dust on it.
Or and they probably live right next door to you.
And I'll just do this, or I'll just put this chemical on it, and I'll just spray this for bottom end rot, and I'll just do this, do that. And you know what? That might be great for them and works for them, but here's the problem that it arises. As these bugs, just like us, as when we get a cold or like when we get chicken pox, our body builds up an immune system to that chicken pox. These who in the world comes in here with the name Clary Sage?
I don't know, but that's funny. Who did that? Even if that's a troll, that is awesome. I don't even know who that is, but that is so cool. But what's her name was asking about tomatoes and carrots. Yes, that's yeah, the tomatoes and carrots do work well together.
So, what was I even talking about?
I don't know, but that's cracking me up.
The bugs are building up a tolerance to these chemicals. So then the chemicals have to get stronger. Mm-hmm. Then the chemicals have to get more potent. And then the bugs get immune. And mm-hmm. It's just a never-ending circle to this. Until the next thing you know, there's no... I'm betting that's rain.
Well, somebody said, is it Heidi? And it says, guess who?
Yeah. And so, it's a never-ending battle with this. So, what you have to do is, we got to figure out a way to, when it gets to the point... Now, it's not Maria. That's got to be rain. So when the bugs reach that level, when there's just no chemical that's going to be able to kill them, we've got to evolve our gardening practices as well to be able to make it to where they can't get it. And how do we do that? Well, we've got to change things up, because all animals, whether it's a squash bug, a deer, or a human being, we're all creatures of habit. So if we continue to take the same route to work every day, it'd be really easy to pick you off. Okay? It's the path of least resistance. If you plant your corn in rows that are straight, it's very easy for that bug to bounce from ear to ear to ear to ear. Okay? But if you put a little curve in it, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Where said bug may go, this is just too difficult over here. And they bounce over to the neighbor's place. Okay? So, that's just something to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about raised bed gardening. Okay, planning out a raised bed garden. Now, if you're going to go to the effort to do a raised bed garden, unless you're in a situation like where you're using the raised bed for an invasive species of plant like sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes, mint. Yeah, that's why you run zigzag. Yeah, mint. Bamboo. There's a bunch of invasive things out there that you may want to grow and harvest, but you need to keep them contained. You can do that with a raised bed. But if you're doing a raised bed to grow your vegetables and stuff because you're somebody like Lone Star, then you really want to consider square foot gardening. Now, square foot gardening is, I explained this to Maria some time back, and she took some snapshots and put it all over Facebook. But the premise behind square foot gardening, okay, is you have a raised bed. And let's just say that your raised bed is 4 feet by 4 feet. Okay? if you have a raised bed that's 4 feet by 4 feet, and you would make 1 foot squares in each bed, you'd make 1 foot squares. So you would get a total of 4 squares in that bed. Okay? It would look something like that. Okay? Now, if you go to square foot gardening, this is where square foot gardening takes this, the square foot garden, and companion gardening, and they mash it together. What's up, Dutch? And they work together so that way you can have a tremendous yield. Believe it or not, a square foot garden can produce more than a row garden. Okay, the typical row style garden. So, it's 16 squares? 4 foot. Yeah, you're right. Hey, I'm not a math guy. You know, but you'd have 16 squares. You guys are right. Let me redraw that. Okay? So that's what happens when I'm not doing stuff to scale. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to draw this one square right here. Okay? And we're going to pretend that's one of your 16 squares. Okay? Even though that's more of a rectangle. But anyway, you guys get the idea. Okay? Now, you could take in these, in this one square, in each corner, you can plant a, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to get a whiteboard. All right. Boop. My daughter's math board. Okay. Yeah, I know there's one on the wall, but y'all won't be able to see it, Steve. All right, hold on. Let me get my markers here. Okay. So, all right, you got your square. All right. All right. Can y'all see that? Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right. Now, this is just one of those 16 squares. Okay? In each corner, here, boop, right there, these green dots, okay? Those are going to be corn. Okay? Y'all got it so far? Look at y'all. All of y'all just see, there's just no love from y'all today. None. Okay? Now, in the see, now y'all got me saying John Madden. All right, in the middle, you can plant a, let's just say a squash plant, okay? Okay? Now you got a squash plant in the center. All right? All right, good. Now, you still got lots of space in here. So, what you can do is down here, right? I'll make these little triangles. You want to plant something like a radish, okay? Something that's is a real quick grower, kind of a root crop, a real quick grower, because your squash plant is eventually going to grow up and it's going to take over this entire area, okay? Now, around your corn, once your corn gets up about 6 to 8 inches, okay, you can come in here, right, and plant some beans, some pole beans. All right, now, because you wait 6 to 8 inches to plant the pole beans, because then the pole beans can use your corn as a trellis. Okay, so now out of this 1 square foot, you got, well, corn produces, let's see, 2 stalks or 2 ears of corn on each stalk, right? So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's 8 ears of corn, all right? You got an unlimited amount of squash, right? I mean, actually, how many squash can you really grow on one plant? You get a lot, okay? Now, with your, and you could even do 2 rows of these until your squash gets bigger. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. 1, 2. So radishes, you can get a 32 minimum. You could probably get more if you did 2 rows. Okay, out of that. All right. And you can do this with lots of other plants. Okay? So you got, that's just from one square. 1 square out of these 16 squares in this 4x4 bed. Okay? All right? Another thing that you can do that's really cool, that's really, really helpful for us here in the South, okay? You take another one of these squares, okay? All right? Now, instead of putting corn in each corner, put a tomato plant in each corner. Okay? Put a tomato in each corner. Okay? Now, as you can get these tomatoes to grow up, they'll also grow out a little bit. That means this area in here will be somewhat shady. It'll be cooler. Okay? So in this center spot right here, That's where you could grow a cool weather plant like a lettuce. Okay? Then down along your sides here, you can grow your garlic or your onions. Okay? Okay? So now you've got another square in this same 4x4 bed that is now producing other vegetables. And you can do stuff like this with every square in this raised bed. So if you've got 16 squares, right? And if you wanted to do just 4 tomatoes in each square, right? 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2, 4, 5, 6. That's 64 tomato plants. I don't even plant that much here. Okay? Because you're getting 4 tomato plants per square. You guys see how this is going? All right? Now, it's extremely, extremely important for you to be successful in doing the square foot gardening is to look up companion planting. And all companion planting is plants that will work well together. Okay? They have a tremendous amount of websites out there that that work well to help teach you this. Now, I am currently talking to a website called growveg.com. And somebody put this up for me, Susan. It is growveg.com. Okay? And I'm working with them to try to get you guys a coupon to be able to get some money off signing up. But they are a great resource. We've been using their website and their garden planner now for the better part of 4 years. They have in there and I wish we would have gotten more with them so I could get the access code so I could pull it up here, but they have sections in there that will tell you which plants work well together. They'll help you with rotating your gardens. They'll help you with the planting order, when to start the seed inside, when it goes to harvest, the whole 9. Like I said, we've been using their site for a long, long time now. What, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And we plan our garden by it. They also help you list all the materials that you need, all that kind of stuff.
It tells you everything, like everything for your region, because you set up your region. It tells you when to start stuff. I mean, yeah, everything.
So that is a great resource to be able to tap into. Okay? Mel Bartholomew is, I think he's basically the founding father of square foot gardening, if memory serves me correctly. And here we go.
See, I come back in the room and that's what happens. It's okay. You'll be fine. We're almost done, right? Or are you done?
No, I still got like 15 minutes.
Okay, well, it's
But-
okay. Discount code. Not yet. We haven't got one yet.
No, I'm trying to get one for you guys. So they also have a YouTube channel where they put out different videos. To help you guys with planting. So that is a wonderful, wonderful resource to be able to use.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and some of the things you just have to Google. You can Google companion planting. But here is my word of caution. It seems like nobody can ever really agree on some of the plants out there. So double check sometimes, because sometimes I've come across where you can find where they'll say that like asparagus and mint is okay together, and then I'll have 3 or 4 other sites that say they won't go together.
They won't, right.
So always
Cross-check everything.
cross-check the stuff. I have not found one particular spot where I'm like, okay, then this is definitely the spot to go to.
Mm-hmm. Just cross-check your sources. I mean, I do that with my oils information.
Yeah.
Whenever I see something and it looks a little awkward, then I make sure that I double-check it with a couple other places to make sure that it's accurate.
Yeah. Now, let's kind of get back into the whole planting the garden thing. When you sit down to plant your garden, you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? In your garden, what is your goal? Do you want to grow enough tomatoes that you can make all of the ketchup, all of the spaghetti sauce, all of the salsa, everything that you need for your family? Now, here's something that I recently learned myself, and I learned it from Old Ways, New Times.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most aggravating, or it was aggravating
and intimidating
was trying to figure out how many tomatoes I needed to make the amount of spaghetti sauce I needed to make it through the year. And because the way I was doing it, I was making my tomato sauce, canning the tomato sauce, and then storing it away. And then you also got to take into consideration how much stinking space you're going to need. Okay? Well, go over to Old Ways News Times channel, sub to their channel. One, just because they're good people.
And they have really good information, guys.
And it's really funny that when she sprays the professor with the hose every now and then. But she has a video on what she does. She takes the tomatoes and makes it into tomato powder. Basically what she does is she dehydrates them, cuts them up, and then grinds them up, and it makes this powder. So now she has all of the tomato powder that she needs for the entire year. Then she can just go in there and grab the scoops. The amount of scoops of tomato powder that she needs to be able to make a can of spaghetti sauce, the ketchup, whatever. So now she's just dehydrating the tomatoes, turning them into that powder, and blammo, putting that up. So then that way it's not taking up as much space.
Right. And it's also shelf stable.
Yeah.
A lot more shelf stable than canning, because with the canning, I mean, don't you have to pressure? No, you don't have to pressure can tomatoes because of the acidity.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But you have, I mean, that's so much space with cans compared to flat bags of, whatever.
And what you have to do then is, all right, let me focus back because this buffering's really got me
Why are you still watching it? Put your other one up so you can see it.
What you do is you look at the type of tomato that you're planting, whether it's Roma, whether it is
paste
tomato, the mortgage lifters, the Cherokee purples, or whatever, and you can Google that tomato, and again, double check your sources, but that would give you about an average yield one plant makes. Okay, so what you do is you have to go, okay, the one plant makes X amount. I'm going to need 2, so let me go ahead and make sure I got 4 tomato plants, because you don't know if you're going to get, aphids happen, storms happen, bottom end rot happens, and so it just goes back and forth. That way you always plant spare.
All right.
I always try to double what I'm planting.
Well, it's like there's some people are saying they planted stuff last year and nothing came up.
Yeah.
And we had the same thing. We had these beautiful tomato plants, flowers, and then no fruit.
No fruit. So these are one of these things that you have to take into consideration and try to CYA with and plant the extra. Okay? And then you plot out your garden. Now, when you're plotting out your garden, some of the things that you want to take into consideration is how much sunlight does this plant need? Most of your tomatoes, they need a good 8 hours of full sun. So you want to put them in the sunnier locations in your garden. If it's kind of like a lettuce and something that needs to kind of stay kind of cool, and you want to kind of favor that to the shaded areas in your garden. Some plants don't need a whole day's sun. Some do better with morning sun, some do better with afternoon sun. And so you have to take that into consideration. And what I like to tell people is, if this is your very first year gardening, go ahead and garden. Don't back out from it. But pay attention to your garden. So then that way, the following year, you get better. And keep records. Keep records. That's one of the things that growveg.com, I love about it. I don't have to write everything down. I draw it up on the computer. I go over there. I hit like F9 or whatever it is to print, and it shoots it out on my computer. And then I got a hard copy, and I put it in my homesteading notebook, and we're good to go. And then as the gardening year goes along, take notes. Okay? Hi, Shep's daughter.
How many peas, snap peas, and green beans do you need per person? Holy cow.
Well, Kitty, that's a question I can't answer that. How much do you like green beans, peas?
Because, for instance, snap peas or sugar peas.
I don't ever get any.
Peas, yeah.
I don't ever get any. Because Ladessa, chews them up. Why take notes? You take notes to tell yourself, okay, my tomatoes did great in this area. What was it about this area? Well, it had full sun. It didn't get any aphids. Blah, blah, blah. So then that way you know to when you're going to move your garden plots around, you want to move those tomatoes to about the same spot. Now, here's the thing about rotating your crops. Some people swear up and down by it. Other people, not so much. I'm kind of the middle of the road kind of guy. I do the back to Eden garden method where look, if you guys haven't figured out by now, I am a firm believer in heavy mulch. Mm-hmm. Mulch, mulch, mulch. Whether it's hay, straw, grass clippings, wood chips, anything that's biodegradable type of mulch. Mm-hmm. If you do a heavy mulch with that kind of stuff, rotating your garden is not
as
big of a deal. Now, if you don't do any mulch and you can't produce a lot of compost where you can top dress that area, then you may want to take into consideration of rotating your crops and giving certain areas just a year off where you just top dress them with some winter rye or something like that, and to have green manure to be able to twist back in there. It's all depending upon your plan. That's why I was talking about this. Your plan works for you. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm doing the back to Eden garden, I don't rotate my crops, doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong if you're always rotating your stuff around. Okay? Because if you're adding like
what she just said, if you're always amending your garden, do you really need to rotate?
Exactly.
And Palmetto said, work smarter, not harder. Let nature do all the work. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is why I'm a huge advocate for leaf mold, worms, black soldier flies, slow compost, cold compost, wood chips, mulch, micro irrigation, because that takes a lot of the work out of gardening. I know some people don't feel like they're not going to get a great crop unless they're out in the garden for 8 to 10 hours a day, weeding, pulling, and all that. And that's great. If that's the way that you want to do it and that makes you happy. I don't have that type of time, and my back doesn't have that type of strength anymore. Mm-hmm. So we have to do, just like Pooper Scooper said, you got to work smarter, not harder. So you have to take, and this is how, as we learn more about gardening and we learn more about botany, horticulture, we start to learn all these, we're getting all of this information, and you take your notes and you learn what worked, what didn't work, and all these things into account, then the next year, by all intent and purposes, you should do better.
Right, because you're going to learn from the things that you... Mm-hmm. Really difficult for me to learn to stop touching stuff and let it do what it's going to do.
Right. And the great thing about the Back to Eden garden is the very first year is not going to be your best yield. Mm-mm. That's probably going to be your worst yield. Because 9 times out of 10, you're trying to rebuild up an area. Look, it is a known fact. This is a fact that throughout the world we have lost approximately 3 feet of topsoil due to erosion and all of that, because people go around my town, it's very prevalent. Farmers are just tilling up the stuff and they're not top dressing it with anything. So as soon as they're done with them soybeans, or as soon as they're done with that canola, they're tilling it up and they're just letting it sit there. So you guys remember from some of the composting classes, they are not getting, there's not going to be a party going on in their soil. So you have to you got to keep good records when you're doing a garden. And that's part of the planning. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then once you got your plan drawn out, okay? And you keep your notes, then the following year, you go back and you look and you go, did not need that many tomato plants.
Right.
I gave away too many tomato plants, or too many tomatoes last year. I'm going to dial it back. But you know what? I barely had enough beans to make it through. Let me go ahead and dial that up a few bit. But you know what? I can't plant those tomatoes anywhere near that section of the garden anymore. Now, another great thing about the growveg.com is when you print that stuff off, you'll have little areas. They'll print off the drawing too. So you can print off going, got too much shade, got too much sun.
Like we had that happen
Yeah.
this past year.
Yeah.
We planted on the edge of our garden and didn't take into account that there was a big old pecan tree that once it finally got its leaves on was going to be a problem, and that whole bed was a failure because it got no sun.
So I got approximately 2 minutes left, and then it's time for living on a yen. So if you guys have any questions, please come back and put them in the comments. And I'll do my best to answer them. Or you can send me an email at bigbearfarms@hotmail.com. bigbearfarms@hotmail.com.
Real quick, can I save the seeds I don't use, and for how long?
Yes.
In a dark, no moist, no water area. And then I have pine trees. What are the needles good for?
Pine needles are great. They're very high in acid. So if you plant blueberries, mulch the tar fire out of your blueberry plants with pine straw. Clary Sage, who are you? That's what I want to know.
I hope it's not shark bait.
So you ain't got to say it in here. Just send me a message and let me know who you are, because I'm dying. Matter of fact,
6:30.
you send me a message privately, tell me who you are, and I'll give you a t-shirt, because that was extremely original.
All right.
It's 6:30. Go on over to Living on a Yen. Tell them I said, what's up, cheapie? And come back next week, and we are going to talk all about micro irrigation. I hope to see you guys next week here with In a Garden with the Big Bear. Next week, micro irrigation, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for coming by, and we will see you guys again on Saturday. Bye.